Hey everybody, welcome to Facility Talk with the Froelich brothers. I'm Scott Froelich, and this is a podcast all about diving into the world of facility management, property maintenance, and strategies to help keep buildings running smoothly. So, our goal is to bring you practical insights from industry experts to help you navigate challenges, improve efficiencies, and optimize building performance. So today, I'm thrilled to have Lindsay Daudistel. And Lindsay is with Optimize Senior Living. She is the founder and CEO. So we're super excited to have her on the show today. And we'll be discussing with Lindsay her experience and really everything running a senior living facility and facilities. She's got multiple sites. So we just want to understand and have a discussion about some of the biggest challenges that she's facing, some of the solutions that are helping drive success in the senior living industry. So, Lindsay, if you're ready, let's get started.
All right, let's go.
Great. So, to kick things off, Lindsay, um, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about Optimize Senior Living, what your role is, and maybe just kind of give us what a day in the life looks like for you.
Sure. Optimize Senior Living, we've been around since technically 2018. So about 7 years we've been in operation. And we are actually homes. We're like residential assisted living homes. I know this is facility talk and it's all about facilities, but I actually say we don't use that F word at our where we're at.
Okay,
We just call them homes, not facilities,
I like it.
for our residents, for our elderly residents. And yeah, we got started because we really wanted to make a difference and do things differently than what a lot of other big facilities were doing. And my grandma was in one, and we were looking for my grandma, and just realizing things could be done differently. So, long story short, that's kind of what kicked it off. Me and my brother and my dad started it with one location in Lebanon, Ohio. We're all in like Southwest Ohio right now. And now we have 9 homes. There'll soon be 12 and growing from there. Yeah, a life in my shoes. A lot of flexibility, I would say, at this point. That's really how I wanted to structure my business and was really focused on that. I have 5 kids. My husband has 2. We're having another one on the way. So for
Wow.
me, it was, uh, I really wanted to be able to create a life where I could be there with my kids and have a great business, create a legacy, help others, impact others, also being able to be mom and be present with them as well.
Well,
Yeah.
good for you and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really, really a blessing to hear. That's a lot that you are juggling, especially owning senior homes, and especially with that growth trajectory that you have. I'm sure that you have a lot of support and a lot of key personnel and roles to make certain that flexibility can be there for you in your business model. Because being mom, I'm sure is your number one priority, and running these homes it's a big undertaking. From my experience being involved in the senior living industry as well. But wow, that's really great to hear. Thank you for sharing that. So when you think about, I'm not going to say facility management. When you think about home management,
You're
um,
good.
what are your, I guess, what are the biggest trends or changes you've seen over the past few years?
I would say the biggest difference from when we first started till now is just an consistent increase in the codes, the regulations, and all the things that you have to have. And how, when we first started, even though our homes are 16 beds, started as being able to be residential and zoned R4. So that made it very homey, and it really did look, feel, smell like a home, and we still really push for that. But now there's so many other regulations because you can't just get away here anyway. Every state, every township, everything's different. But there's just a lot more regulations around it. So really pushing it to be more institutional and just changing the codes there. So we got to do things differently where the residents aren't really allowed in the kitchen and getting food licenses and that kind of thing. So I would say that's probably been the biggest change as far as like the actual home and what's expected just even to get licensed from when we started till now.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, same in, facility management in our world, code and regulations have only increased. We certainly see those trends too. Permit applications and, different construction projects that require, up-to-date OSHA standards or up-to-date, this equipment or these materials. So, that's a good one to point out, and it's something you have to stay on top of because unfortunately those are challenges out of our control. But they do impact the home and the residences and the business model. So, that's good that you're seeing how those trends can impact you and how to plan for them. So looking ahead, talk to me. I know you had mentioned that you have roughly 9 homes now, soon to be 12. So talk to me about some of your biggest goals in the next few years, particularly challenges that you're looking to overcome.
Yeah, so goals over the next few years. Well, I said we're looking to open three more. Those are renovations. So that was actually in two of the homes were for juveniles, and then one of the buildings was actually an administrative building, all on the same kind of parcel of land. So we're doing a big renovation. So that'll be three different homes right there, able to accommodate 36 residents total. Um, so that has its own challenges, just with any big renovation and going from an administrative building to a home for 24 seniors, a big addition and everything onto there. So that had its own challenges, and we're about to open those. And as far as goals go, we are actually franchising our model. The senior space is growing, and we feel very passionately about the care that can be provided in a smaller setting like this and how we offer the optimized care and all of that in a family type environment. So we are franchising and, look to be expanding in quite a few states across the country, as well as acquiring other ones. Because, like you said, it is challenging to own a senior living company, whether you have 5 residents or 105 residents. There's challenges with staffing and everything. So, a lot of people have great homes out there, but might be retiring, might just be looking to get out. So we'd love to be acquiring those and have them as part of the optimized family.
That's great.
Yeah.
You read a lot about mergers and acquisitions, specifically in this space. And it feels like the industry, because so many of the, baby boomers, don't know the number off the top of my head, but I think it's like 16,000 are retiring a day. And the demand is, significant. And, from some of the research I've seen in senior living, I think that runway with that consistent demand is going to be about 3 to 5 years. If that sounds right on what you're seeing. So it looks like from a growth perspective, you're right in line with, where the market demand is, with good senior housing and homes for these, elderly to, get that kind of, next life support and living. Um, so that's really cool. It's funny you said that franchise model. I was driving in to work today and I literally heard a commercial on the air talking about senior living franchising. And
Really?
it was an ad, it was an advertisement and it had, call this number and they're talking about, a franchise model to open up your own senior living home.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe that's a trend that you're seeing out there, but to me, when you said that, I was like, huh, I literally just heard a commercial this morning about a franchise, in the senior living space.
I really hadn't. Like, I feel like there's a gap out there and like an opportunity for it, which is why we're going down that path too. So I'm super curious on what company it was. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll see if I can dig up the station I listened to it on, and if I can find some information on it, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So, I mean, obviously you've got a lot going on facility wise. It doesn't sound like, you're the facility manager per se, being the founder and the owner. What are the challenges in the facility management or the building maintenance that you're seeing, at least that you're downline or, the meetings that you're having? What are some of those, biggest obstacles or, what is facing your facilities, team?
Yeah, for us, I would say it's primarily just your general maintenance, your general upkeep, um, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but that really is it. When you have the turnover of residents, and because we take on pretty high acuity residents, so as they pass away, then it's just that general upkeep of a room, having to patch the holes and paint it again, and just again, it's a home-like setting, so it's not. We don't have the excessively large hallways and all of that. So just the dings up and down the hallway constantly. And I think that's probably the biggest frustration with everyone is this just got painted and now we got to repaint it again. um,
Yeah, sometimes, we go into some of these homes or projects and it's like, you guys, you're doing this backwards. You just painted your walls, you put in new carpet, but you got a roof that's wide open and it's leaking. Let's fix that first and then, work on the interior. Um,
Geez.
so do you have like different teams that are responsible for, the interior maintenance versus the exterior, building envelope maintenance with your parking lot, your siding, your windows, your drainage system, your roofing. I guess how do you tackle some of those building envelope issues when they come up?
Sure. Again, I feel like it's kind of a simple answer from our perspective, but I mean we have our maintenance guys that go into the homes, so I leave it up to our management team to keep up with the maintenance log for him for all of the general things, and I expect him to do certain tasks too, and looking at making sure all the toilets are working well, nothing's leaking, all the light bulbs are changed, all of that inside, and then I like to be the one to do the rounds when it comes to what needs done on like painting and decor and that kind of thing to keep things updated, replacing cabinets and that kind of stuff. Otherwise, everything else on the outside is pretty much subbed out. So, we're informed if shingles come off or if there's a gutter broke, things like that. But then otherwise, it's just our regular rounds and seeing, hey, this is off, something needs addressed, something needs updated, we need new concrete, whatever that is, and we sub it out. And so we have different sub teams that go to any location.
Yeah, that's smart. That's how you stay ahead of it. I mean, your maintenance logs are critical, to understand, how to manage life cycle of different assets throughout your, exterior and interior. The upgrades aesthetically and, staying in tune with, keeping things up to date. Sounds like you guys are addressing those issues efficiently, which is good. Like your point earlier, you want it to feel like a home. So just like our own homes, you want to have the upkeep in order and, make certain things are tidy. And if, there's issues or things that come up. You've got a team to support you. I know you mentioned a subbed out team. That's, a clean, efficient way to handle those issues. We're familiar with that kind of model with other senior living companies, and it's a great way to do it. It takes us, it takes a lot of stress and that burden off your maintenance, your in-house maintenance team. And, quite honestly, from a risk and liability standpoint, you're limiting their exposure to climbing a ladder or, getting on a sloped roof, to try to DIY it themselves when, you sub it out, you have a company that has the proper insurance, the proper equipment and tools, and they essentially can, get it done with less of that headache. So that's great to hear.
Well, because
Um,
we've learned from those mistakes, right?
yeah.
Where this
Well,
guy can do it cheaper, oh, but he's not insured, and then X, Y, and Z happens, and then you're like, okay, this is why you just pay a little extra to have it done the right way by an insured company. And yeah.
100%. And, I would be interested. Do you have any past efforts or is there any discussion on that point from a lesson learned that, you'd like to share?
Let me think about which story to share there.
Yeah. You want to be careful.
Yeah, yeah. But no, you were talking though before just about like your general like facility upkeep and all that and like how to manage it all. And I will say one thing that we consistently struggle with too is the just the general cleaning. And maybe it's me being kind of anal about what I expect. And there's a lot of hands and a lot of people, it's a lot, places get dirty quickly, but you expect it to just always look and feel clean as your house at home. And it just never seems to be that way. So getting everybody to do exactly what you're expecting and to keep it that way, or do you bring in third party people? Do you keep them there regularly? So the housekeeping, that general housekeeping seems to be an ongoing battle as well.
Yeah, I could imagine because it is a sensitive environment. You've got, I think you said your homes they're roughly about 16 units. Is that where roughly all of them are at?
Yeah.
Okay. So, there's 16, seniors that are living in these homes and having, I've seen it a couple different ways. And it feels like from some of the conversations I have, having your own personnel, that consistent face, that, person living in the home isn't seeing, different companies or different people that are doing cleaning services. And, sometimes, that could be um, an environment that may be uncomfortable. I don't know. I, I think it just depends on, what kind of consistency your residents, have expectation for. Seeing familiar faces, knowing, hey, okay, that's John or that's Susan. She does our cleaning. That could be important. But maybe I'm overthinking that aspect.
I think it's good. I mean, I like having it where it's our team that's in there doing the cleaning, and you can do it pretty regularly on a daily basis in their rooms and in the common area. It's just making sure that it is consistently being done, and that's just part of the management factor of the business.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So, speaking of best practices and solutions, specifically to building maintenance, let's talk about solutions. What kind of strategies or what type of best practices have you seen most effective in improving some of your maintenance operations at your facilities? Is it maybe technology? I know you had mentioned, subbing out, paying a little more, having the right, company with insurance. Um, but are there any type of technologies you're incorporating, any softwares you're incorporating? I guess share with us maybe some effective solutions or technologies that's helped you, in the building maintenance arena.
I'd love to say that we've used some great technology that has really evolutionized what we're doing there, but we haven't. We've done a lot of unique technology things as far as like the care model goes and how we can do the care and the um, alarm systems and all of that. But as far as facility management, we really haven't utilized any kind of fresh technology. One big thing for us was when we went from just buying certain things to utilizing a service like a Centos or, um, uh, what's the other company we use? I don't know, there's so many of them out there. But when they change out your rugs regularly and change out your paper towels and all that, like that makes a difference in just how it looks and keeping it clean.
Yeah,
So again, that's not technology, it's just utilizing another service. But
yeah,
I think just the biggest thing though is communication and having the right communication tactics in place. Because as soon as the communication fails, doesn't matter if it's technology or human to human or whatever it is, then that's when things go unnoticed and untaken care of.
you're spot on. And honestly, that's been a good theme. And, I'm happy to hear that that's kind of been a consistent theme I've heard on these podcasts is that communication piece. Any good team is going to have good communication, from top to bottom, right? I'm sure, if you're into the office, you have, quote unquote, open door policy, or, people could come to you and communicate, what they're looking to communicate. And that's wildly important. Um, with communication, how are you training? I guess, in this space, you've got a lot of, different personnel from facilities to, caretakers to, you know, food and beverage and so forth and so on. But um, what is your training, your ongoing training, to support that communication?
Yeah, kind of like a train the trainer type of concept, really, where if I have somebody new in a higher management role, then I'm personally going to walk around with them and show them what I'm looking at, what I expect. And we've had plenty of videos, I've created videos for them to watch, have created videos for the whole team to watch, different PowerPoints and scavenger hunt types of things to better understand like the whole facilities management aspect of it, like you said. But yeah, train the trainer. So if I'm walking around and pointing out things like I expect you to see X, Y, and Z, and I expect these kind of tasks to be done to uphold these, and this is how the communication needs to flow, then I expect them to make sure that the next management level is doing that, and so on and so forth. So I kind of take a hands-on approach with that to make sure that I'm communicating with them and showing them what I'm seeing.
I think, if you can incorporate that kind of culture, then, what better way to learn from, somebody that is, teaching you exactly the steps. The train the trainer is a great model to follow with the right people. I've seen it in different um, high turnover homes where, that's more challenging. But if you got, consistent, if you've got, personnel that, have, um, a long tenure, that kind of train the trainer really can be very useful, and I'm sure effective for you guys. That's cool.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for sharing that.
I think a big piece of that though is going to be how do we continue to grow and scale our company while implementing those same types of strategies? Or where does that pivot need to happen to make sure that what we're expecting at our local home here is happening at every other location across the country?
Yeah, especially, exploring the franchise model. I don't know, all the kinds of responsibilities you'll have as a franchise owner. But even, acquiring facilities, you're going to take on, personnel that, may have been trained differently or, have just different backgrounds. And, you're going to come across more challenges that you're going to, obviously overcome through your experience and, success you're having at your current homes. But that'll be fun to follow, Lindsay. I'm kind of excited to follow your journey in this and, see how your growth and, how these goals are working out for you guys at Optimize Senior Living, because they're big goals, and that's exciting to, talk to somebody that, has that vision, specifically in the space because it's such an underserved space and there's such a demand for it from a quality standpoint. I think we've all been in the homes that don't have, the best quality, and that, stems from, the leadership there. Um, so, um, and I think that kind of goes into, the balance of cost savings with, maintaining a high quality building, versus, cutting the corners and saving a buck here. How do you balance cost savings with where you don't want to overspend, but you don't want to underinvest either?
That's a great question. I mean, all of our homes are newer as well. So whether we've built them from the ground up or have renovated, I mean, all of our homes are less than 7 years old. So when it comes
Okay.
to like those big
Well, that helps.
expenses, yeah, we haven't really had to do that. That all comes on the front end of, renovation. Hey, we're gonna make it a little bit more because we need to replace all those things initially. So in 3 years, we're not having to do that. So that hasn't been a real big issue yet. It is an issue though, balancing out just those general upkeep things.
Yeah. And you may find that, being a challenge as you're looking at acquiring existing homes. Don't know, what your targets are from a older home, meaning age of building, age of a home, or if you're, looking to acquire a newer building as a home. But, those are things that I'm sure you're going to have to balance from a cost saving standpoint on how to, get it up to, the quality of level that, you expect for your residents to come in and expect to be a home for them. Um, Good. Nice. So really, I wanted to kind of touch more on technology and how that plays a role in your home management. Um, you mentioned you do have some tools or some innovations that you found particularly useful, maybe not from a facility side, but is there any technologies or anything from an innovation standpoint in your guys's home, in your industry that maybe you could share?
Sure. Uh, I'll share a couple things we've tried that haven't worked necessarily, and it's not because of the technology, but more of just like the management side of it or how it really flowed in our house or our funds at the time. Um, but I absolutely believe that technology plays a huge role in senior care and how we can enhance the senior care expectations moving forward. I'm to embrace the AI and embrace any technology that's coming because it's coming. So we can either embrace it and put it into motion and allow it to be useful for us and help us be more efficient, or we can say it's the devil and push it away and and then we're going to keep doing things the same way over and over again. And nobody, I don't know. I just don't believe in that model. So we're always trying new things. There's been some really great fall prevention technology out there. One company actually locally that we were introduced to, their fall prevention revolves around socks and having sensors in socks.
Wow.
And they have expanded quite a bit in what their technology can do for mobility and even just like the lights, like the smart home kind of concept. And they're more focused in the hospital space, like those settings
Yeah.
versus senior living, but they did incorporate what they were doing with us and even doing like a rounding platform with them. So there's some really cool technology there, and I think the socks are pretty awesome. Everybody gets hospital socks when they go there, and these socks are no different. They just have sensors all over them.
Wow. I've
Yeah.
not heard of that one.
Yep. That
I've
company is called
never.
Polarum.
How do you spell that?
Palarum.
Wow.
So they have some really great technology. And like I said, they introduced a rounding platform for us as well to help with that daily care monitoring of the residents too. They were also testing out some different fall prevention strategies with putting different sensors underneath the beds that could alert things differently. They have different alert tools for badges. And so we're even like geofences the nearest badge
Yeah.
to go off if there's certain movement in the room and all of that. Um, so a lot of those kind of technologies have been tested.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, AI is going to be here and it is here and it's going to continue to evolve and, I think be a great tool if used the right way. This fall prevention, this socks, I mean, what a great idea. It's something that you kind of say, why did I think of that? But, it sounds simple, but, fall prevention is obviously very important and, elderly care. So that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that insight. Well, Lindsay, I know that I promised you this would be about 20 to 30 minutes, and I know your time is valuable, and you've got a lot of hats you wear, and you have kids in the library that are waiting for mommy to come out. So, it really has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your insights, Lindsay, and your perspective on just um, you know, having that flexibility, the goals that you have with the residents, making certain this feels like a home. And, this isn't a 200 unit type facility or home. This is a small, it sounds like kind of like a boutique, well ran home. And, you know, just some small takeaways, that really stood out to me. And, I'll be honest, I know our listeners are going to get a ton of value from this podcast today. And, thank you for joining us. And for those listening, If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Facility Talk for more expert discussions on facility management and building maintenance. So, Lindsay, thank you.
Thank you very much. This was fun.